Step into the chilling world of a remote Indonesian village, where an enigmatic secret shrouds the town in darkness. As whispers of a haunting tragedy echo through the generations, the eerie tale of a young boy's accidental drowning lingers like a ghostly specter, casting a long shadow over the inhabitants. From the innocent laughter of children playing by a tranquil pond to the bone-chilling encounters with unseen forces lurking beneath the murky waters, this story unravels a terrifying mystery that blurs the line between the living and the dead. Join us on a journey into the heart of fear and intrigue, where brave souls dare to uncover the truth hidden beneath the surface of the haunted pond, unaware of the horrors that await them in the depths of the unknown. Brace yourself for a spine-tingling adventure that will keep you on the edge of your seat until the very end. Welcome to Eerie Encounters and Hauntings. We are thrilled to have you join us for 2 new spine-tingling tales of the paranormal each week, stories that will make you shiver with fear and keep you on the edge of your seat. From haunted houses to possessed objects, we have the most bone-chilling tales of the supernatural. Get ready for a terrifying journey into the unknown with our bone-chilling episodes featuring blood-curdling stories that will send shivers down your spine. So hit that like button, share the horror with your friends, and subscribe to our channel. This story will make shiver in fright. This is entitled Whispers of the Haunted Pond. This was shared by Marjorie from Brazil. Let's get started. An enigmatic secret casts a long shadow over the people who live in a remote Indonesian town on an island by itself. A terrible disaster, the story of a young boy who drowned by accident, stays with us as a grim reminder of the past that will haunt future generations. A group of happy kids used to play by a calm pond, just outside the village's edges, many years ago. The sound of their laughter and happiness filled the room as they enjoyed the simple things that kids love. During their game, one of the boys tripped and fell into the water with a splash. The waves quickly covered up his body. For some reason, the other kids went from being happy and carefree to being scared and scared. As they waited impatiently for him to come back to the surface, fear began to creep into their hearts. Moments turned into years, but the boy stayed hidden beneath the water's surface. His absence was like a huge hole in their world. As they ran back to the town, they begged for help with scared words. People in the village ran to the scene of the accident and dove into the pond to try desperately to save the boy. What they saw in those murky seas would burn in their hearts forever. The boy, who was standing on a flooded rock, looked like he was stuck between two worlds. His lifeless body moved slowly with the currents, his eyes and mouth open wide. It was a haunting scene of disaster that people who saw it will never forget. They couldn't explain what they saw, but it looked a lot like a scary show put on by unseen hands. It would stay with them forever. In the village, rumors of the scary event spread like dark strands through the hearts of the people who lived there. The tragedy wasn't just a loss, it was a mystery that no one could solve. Men who had dove into the pond described the scary scene, with shaking voices as they talked about how still the boy was in the water. It was as if he had freely accepted his death, a scary thought that set the stage for a horrifying story that was yet to come. As the sun went down, different kinds of whispers began to spread. There were tales of eerie wails and sad cries that could be heard through the dark nights coming from the direction of the pond. Some people in the village tried to calm people down by saying that the strange sounds were just the trees moving and the wind blowing. But the braver ones quickly had their beliefs tested by the terrible things that happened to them. As the moon cast its ghostly light over the town at night, people who went near the pond felt like they were being washed by something from another world. Unseen hands seemed to reach out from the depths and touch their ankles with a cold touch, a chilling memory of the boy who had disappeared below the surface of the water. The people in the village became more afraid, and their faith in the supernatural grew as they had strange experiences that couldn't be explained logically. Local tales and whispers started to mix, making a scary story about what happened to the boy. People said he was stuck in a liminal space, a place where his pain and sadness tied him to the real world. He would rise from his watery grave at night, looking for live people to trap and trade their souls for his own freedom. The locals saw it as a desperate plea for freedom, a way for him to escape the limits of his tragic death. In the creepy atmosphere, a father and son went for a dangerous walk by the haunted pond. They were playing a game that looked harmless by skimming stones across the water. They had no idea that the water was full of terrible horrors. The boy's happy laughing turned into a terrifying scream all of a sudden. A force that wouldn't let go grabbed his leg and dragged him down with cruel determination. The father was terrified and desperate as he fought against the phantom grip and tried in vain to get his son back from the edge of the abyss. In the pitch-black darkness, he finally found his son. He was sitting eerily on a submerged rock, looking exactly like the boy from the sad past, with his mouth open and eyes wide. The father's desperate efforts to save his son finally paid off when he came back to the surface with his dead body. He was able to bring his son back to life by sheer willpower and resolve. He gave his son's weak body new life after it had almost drowned. With supernatural links holding them together, they went back to the village as both survivors and witnesses to a bad force that was hard to understand. A priest was asked to clean the pond and get rid of the evil spirit that had been bothering the town for too long. The locals tried to find comfort in this act of purification, but there was still a strong feeling of unease. It seemed like time went on forever, but sometimes the night let out the clear cries of the drowned boy, a haunting warning that some souls will always be lost on earth. After many generations, the village's children still hear scary stories from their elders that warn them not to get too close to the pond. The sad story has become a part of their minds, affecting their fears and dreams. It's like a ghost that shows how hard it is to tell the difference between life and death. But the scary stories and hints about the haunted pond didn't go away, even though many years had passed. Even though the village was doing well, the people who lived there couldn't shake the feeling that they were being watched by people they couldn't see, especially at night when the land was dark. While the priest's cleaning helped for a short time, it seemed like the evil force that had been sleeping under the pond's surface had just moved away, biding its time until it could once again do damage. People in the town tried to hide their fears, but the ghost of the boy who drowned kept hanging over their lives. Then, on a terrible night, a storm hit the island and pelted the town with strong winds and heavy rain. Thunder rumbled in the distance, sounding scary, and lightning flashed across the sky, lighting up the landscape in harsh, eerie ways. During the storm, a single figure came out of the dark and was dragged towards the pond by an invisible force. It was a young girl who was interested in what the older people in the village were saying. She ignored the warnings that were going through her mind and walked closer to the water, where the rain was hitting her like icy blades. With each step, the air became thick with excitement. There was a palpable strain that seemed to stretch reality itself. As the girl looked into the murky depths, her heart was racing because she thought she might see the ghostly figure of the drowned boy looking back at her. More scary than that, though, was what she saw. As lightning struck the pond again, the water swirled and churned, turning into a twisting mass of darkness that took the shape of a ghost. The girl's blood ran cold as she watched in fear, unable to take her eyes off the scary figure that came up from the depths. It was the drowned boy, whose face was twisted and deformed with pain and whose eyes were glowing with a light that seemed to come from another world. As he reached out to the girl, his ghostly hand was outstretched in a quiet plea for help. His sad wail echoed across the island. At that very moment, the girl knew she had to run away, back to the safety of the town, and never return to the haunted pond. But there was something that glued her to the spot, a creepy interest that made her stay and face the horror she was seeing. As the storm got worse, the ghostly figure got closer. Its wispy shape pulsed with a dark energy that seemed to fill the air around it. The girl's heart was pounding in her chest as she got ready for what was going to happen. She knew she had found something more scary than she could have imagined. But what that truth was and what would happen to the brave person who tried to find it stayed hidden in the stormy depths of the haunted pond, ready to be shown to anyone brave enough to look for it. The girl stood still, her heart racing in her ears. Suddenly, she felt a cold, wet hand touch her ankle, sending chills down her spine. With a gasp, she fell backward and almost lost her balance on the wet, slippery ground. But the ghostly figure of the dead boy kept coming closer with each second that went by. His sad cries filled the air, mixing with the heavy thunder and roaring wind to make a terrifying noise that echoed through the night. In a last-ditch effort to get away from the scary ghost, the girl turned and ran, her feet splashing through puddles as she ran back to the safety of the town. But she felt like there was someone following her every step, like a dark shadow appeared behind her. It hurt her heart as she stumbled through the dark. In the distance, the town lights flickered like beacons of hope in the darkening night. As she got closer to the town, though, a sudden gust of wind put out the lanterns, leaving the world in darkness once more. The girl screamed in fear as she found herself alone in the dark, with the boy's cries for help ringing in her ears. As she stood there shaking in the stormy night, she couldn't get rid of the feeling that something evil was just beyond her line of sight, waiting calmly to take her soul for all time. No one was safe in that haunted town because the line between the living and the dead was getting less clear every second. Evil spirits were always hiding in the shadows. The girl felt sick to her stomach as the storm got worse. She knew she had found a truth that was scarier than she could have imagined, one that would give her nightmares forever. But as the girl's scared breaths echoed through the dark, she heard a new sound, a soft, eerie music that seemed to be moving with the wind. She had never heard that song before. It was both beautiful and scary, getting through the storm like a siren's call. The girl was scared at first, but the heavenly music made her curious for a moment. She took slow, careful steps toward the sound. Each note drew her deeper into the town and closer to where the haunting melody was coming from. The girl's breath caught in her throat as she turned a corner. In front of her stood an old tree with twisted branches that reached up to the sky like skeleton hands reaching for the sky. And perched on top of one of the tallest branches was a figure, a woman whose features were hidden by the storm's veil of mist and shade. The sight mesmerized the girl, and as she walked toward the tree, the music got louder. As the woman got closer, her voice joined the eerie music. Her words had an otherworldly power that seemed to reach deep into the girl's soul. The woman sang, "Child of the village," and her voice was soft, like the wind whispering through the leaves. "Are you looking for answers to the riddles that are below the surface? Are you brave enough to find the long-buried truth?" The girl paused, her heart torn between fear and a strong desire to do something. But before she could answer, the woman's song got louder and filled the room with a life-filled energy that was hard to resist. "Come closer, child," the woman called out, her voice commanding and calming. "Embrace the darkness that dwells within you, and let the secrets of the past reveal themselves to you." The girl reached out to the woman with shaking hands and ran her fingers along the cool, damp bark of the tree. When they looked at each other in the stormy night, she felt a rush of power run through her. It was a power that went beyond time and space and connected her to the old forces that were sleeping in the village. The girl stood alone in the dark again, but the vision went away just as fast as it had come. As she looked up at the tree's empty branches, she knew she had been picked for a much bigger reason than she could have imagined. At that time, she realized that she was the only one who could find out what was going on in the haunted pond and decide what would happen to the village. After feeling more determined than ever, the girl went to face the evil that was hiding in the depths, knowing that only by doing so could she find the truth that was hiding beneath the surface. But she had no idea that the trip ahead would test her in ways she could never have imagined, and that the evil spirits that lived in the haunted pond would do anything to keep the secrets of the past hidden forever. As the storm raged on, the girl knew that her fate was tied to the fate of the town and that the decisions she made in the coming days would affect not only her own fate but also the fate of everyone who lived on the haunted island. But she didn't know what was waiting for her in the depths of the haunted pond or what horrible things were hiding below the water's surface. Only those brave enough to look for them would find out. The girl knew that the real test of her bravery was yet to come as she set out on her journey. If this video left you spellbound, dive deeper into the world of chilling tales by joining our channel, Eerie Encounters and Hauntings. Access a treasure trove of bone-chilling stories waiting for you with new episodes 2 times a week. Spread the fear among your friends and family who crave a good scare and give them goosebumps. We'd love to hear your spine-tingling experiences as well, so don't hesitate to share them in the comments. You can also send us your story so we can feature it in one of our future episodes. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video. Stay scared. Disclaimer. This video is for entertainment purposes only. The stories depicted in this video are shared by people who believe they are true, but they have not been verified. Any resemblance to real people or events is purely coincidental. The views and opinions expressed in this video are those of the people who shared the stories and do not necessarily reflect the views of YouTube, Google, or Facebook. The channel does not endorse the views expressed in this video. This video is not intended to be used as evidence of any supernatural or paranormal activity. If you are experiencing paranormal activity, please contact a qualified professional.